Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2 of our tuning guide series. Today we'll be tuning the transmission, so we have a decent bit to cover today, so let's jump into it. So here is our 2015 Chevy Corvette Z06, currently stock, making 650 horsepower from a 6.2-litre supercharged V8, weighing little over 3,500 pounds, and we're in the pits at Hakone, the Grand Prix circuit. So as I said, today we are covering gearing, and there is a lot of ways to do this. First we'll go over a quick way, and then we'll cover my way, and I'll mention the way I think you should tune it, as my way is very suited specific to me, but anyways. So to tune the final drive you're going to need a sport transmission upgrade, and to tune every gear you're going to need a race transmission upgrade. In this game we don't have the 7 to 10 speed upgrades, just stock street sport and race transmission as of recording this video, so we're going to choose the race transmission, and cover final drive tuning, then in-depth gear tuning. So firstly, the final drive controls all the gears in the transmission. Sliding it towards speed in theory gives you a higher top speed but is slower to accelerate, and in theory sliding it towards acceleration gives you more acceleration but less top speed. I say theory because there is pros and cons to everything, but we mostly want to start by looking at how many gears we have. In this car it is a 8-speed transmission, and we want to make sure every gear is usable, or we want to make sure that we use what gears we need. Typically with a 6-speed transmission you will use every gear, and with a 8-speed transmission you don't really need 8 gears, but it can help. So let's start by taking a look down here on the left. This is the gearing graph. I base 99% of my tunes off of this graph. I have done this for the past 14 plus years, so I automatically know the gear ratios are going to suck stock. But let's firstly make every gear visible on the graph. The bright white lines represent the gear. The red line represents the red line of the engine, or the limiter. This is the most RPM the engine will produce. Each dark white line going down represents a speed. Let's slide this towards acceleration until every gear is visible on the graph. And side note, if every gear is already visible on the graph, slide all the way towards acceleration, then apply, back out, come back in, then make every gear visible on the graph. That is to fix the graph so that it shows the highest speed and every gear. So now that we see every gear on the graph, we are going to look at our 8th gear, because our 8th gear is our last gear, and we want to set it to the end of the graph. It's alright to go a little past the graph, but this is just to have the in theory highest top speed and fastest acceleration. So now with that we'll take it for a drive, and if you LKE it, keep it. If you don't, I'll show you how to fix this mess. Cough like it, keep it. If you don't, I'll show you how to fix this mess. I can type correctly. Okay, so on most cars that would be fine. On this transmission, no. So let's fix it. Now we're going to get into individual gear tuning. But quick side note for final drive tuning: slide right if you feel you can get a little more acceleration, slide left if you feel you need more top speed. So let's begin with understanding the graph, and why this setup doesn't work. There is multiple factors happening here. Firstly, this transmission is tuned to be a 6-speed. You can see this 6th gear is a 1.00 ratio. That is a 1-to-1 ratio, and gears under 1.00 being the 7th and 8th gears are overdrive gears. This is a thing in street cars everywhere. Your overdrive gear is for fuel economy, and this isn't really a thing in Forza, so we don't need to worry about it. Secondly, let's have a look at the graph again. This should be a smooth curve, and it is clearly not a smooth curve, so let's pretend we want to keep around this same feeling, but simply fix the graph. I would simply do this. I'm looking at the graph here on the left. This fixes a lot of issues already just from minor adjustments purely looking at the graph. Now yes, all this says it's technically worse, but sometimes the actual times are wrong, because this transmission was probably tuned specifically for those times. Now I'm making it drive like a normal car, but a few things here. I want you to really see here. I'm gonna zoom in on the graph in post. Keep in mind each gear is shorter than the one before, meaning shifting from first to second gear is going to drop to about 4,500 RPM, and shifting from second to third is gonna drop to 5,000 RPM or so. That makes sure that you're staying within the power band. Technically we should be looking at the peak torque and horsepower, but you can feel this out really easily, and I don't honestly know if that's in this game. I haven't looked lol, but the main thing is setting up your curve here. If it's not a smooth curve it won't drive right, as you seen with the stock transmission. Now you can see already how much more usable the gears are. It shifts much better already, but we can improve this even further, because now we're going to cover first gear tuning. Now first gear tuning is very important. It is your launch gear, and it's what starts the race. If it's too short like it is on my car right now, it just spins and feels slow. If it's too long it won't spin at all and will be way too slow. So this is a test I do with most cars. Whatever your first gear is set at right now, we're going to start by seeing if we can make it not bounce off of the limiter while we're full throttle. This is typically a all-wheel drive thing, but rear-wheel drives do it too, just more rarely. So to find around where the sweet spot is, the fastest way of finding this area is using more than just first. So we're going to see what launching in our higher gears is like, because we just want to see what gear will let us launch quickly under full throttle while not bouncing off of the limiter. See, third gear finally let me launch the car pretty hard and it didn't bounce off the limiter. That means the sweet spot is closer to third gear than second gear. But if we try in fourth gear, because we wasn't at the top of the RPM range, it'll probably just stall. Also it's helpful to know what your stall speed is, and make sure to keep it under 11 miles an hour, as you don't slow down to 11 miles an hour under normal racing conditions, and if you do, it'll probably be faster to be spinning tires to go through it lol anyways, so now let's try to get a little closer. See, this is the short method. I'm going to keep pulling this gear towards acceleration until I hit the limiter once or twice. This lets me accelerate as fast as I can in first gear off the line without stalling, and this lets me have the most speed in that gear. This is very simple once you understand it. That's what your ideal first gear should be like, a ratio that lets you spin tires, goes right up to the red line and gets the most speed out of first gear, while making sure to keep it within a 10 mile per hour stall speed. And just showing you one more time, to check the stall speed, start moving, and just slowly keep slowing down until the car stalls because the RPM is too low. If it's above 10 miles an hour, you're risking stalling on the brakes, but keep in mind this is just a helpful rule. Now I have cars with 20 mile per hour stall speeds and they work fine. This is just the best way to do your first gear consistently and easily. And quickly we are going to show the long method. It's the same thing, but instead of having it bounce off of the limiter a couple times, it's set so it never bounces off the limiter like so. And now again simply put in a smooth curve, and it should look a lot better since you have a proper first gear now. And that is gear tuning. It is very simple. If you need a more in-depth guide on gearing, I highly recommend going to my other tuning guide on Horizon 5. It is the same thing, but with a little bit of a difference in methods. But it's roughly the same thing for motorsport. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope this helps you. Be sure to leave any questions in the comments section and be sure to like and subscribe with post notifications turned on so you don't miss any future episodes of our tuning guide. Have a wonderful day.